The purpose of this video is to explain the important role that technology plays in selecting accounting software. And hopefully at the end of the video, you will have realized not only that using legacy software not only puts your business at risk, but also the fact that you're losing out on some really great technology and ideas and functions that's available to users of more modern technology out there. The first thing we'll talk about is the database. Now, a lot of systems out there will use legacy databases like Pervasive or Btrieve or Firebird. Now, a lot of these databases were designed using flat file technology. So if you think about an Excel sheet, if I was to open up an Excel sheet here, and I say that formula is equal to that value, and I'll put a value in there, and it changes, that's relational, or within the different sheets. This value here will now pick up value in that same sheet. So that is relational. So as one value changes, so I say 33 for example, as one value changes, so does the other. And these old legacy databases actually do not have any relationships between the tables. A result of that is, most common thing is data corruption. In fact, if anything, there's three myths that I hope to dispel on technology during this video. The first one is that you need a UPS on every machine. It could not be further from the truth. The second was accounting software systems don't run on wireless technology. Well, that couldn't be further from the truth either. And the third one is that if you get a data corruption, it's possibly because of a power spike. But that is just a downright lie. Now, the only reason the accounting software companies will tell you this is because this technology is so old and dated that it's like a deck of cards and will fall over with the slightest breeze. And with Palladium, we use a Microsoft SQL Server database. So what happens there is when we update, we establish a dynamic connection to the database. We send a package of information to update. The system will update the database. It will come back and it will tell us whether we've updated or not. So it's an all or nothing update. And that is traditionally with a Microsoft SQL Server database. Another risk you run with the legacy databases, in fact, such as even one that's very, very predominantly used in South Africa is Pastel Partner and the Pastel Express editions on the pervasive databases. They still handle files in a very, very different way, with no relationships between them. And every user on the system requires full administrator rights to access that database. And what that means is each user can take the information, open it, copy it, amend it, do whatever they like to it. There's absolutely no database security whatsoever. So in terms of the new pending legislation with the POPI Act, where companies are obliged to exercise due care in the protection of their company data or their customer or vendor data, simply cannot be done. Another thing we do is going on to wireless. Now you see here I'm in Palladium, so I'm going to open up what we call connections. So Palladium handles the connections to the database very differently to other systems. We can handle settings to various clusters of databases. So for example, that cluster of database there is on my local machine. I'll activate it and in I go. I do not have access to those SQL tables. That's all handled through the administration and SQL Server itself. And I'll go into my sample database, my company. If I wanted to then say, right, I want to connect to my database if I'm external in the office or if I'm in the office, different connections. So I'm saying I'm going to connect to our office from home now, and I'll activate. Now the system's just gone in. You'll see I've got a whole lot of different databases. And there it is. I'm actually now running on a server in our office. So it's completely remote from where I am. So what that allows people to do is it caters very, very well for a multi-branch environment. And also what's happened here is, you'll see now I'm going to open up an invoice. So I'm going to choose an invoice. I will now try and select an item. There we go. You'll even see the images have popped up there. Now that's the 29th of February invoice number 7. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to switch off my wireless. So here I go and switch it off. Switched off my Wi-Fi. Go back to that document. You see now, document's still here. Now going back into my Wi-Fi, I'll set it on. Just let it connect. There we go, connection secured. Right, now record that. And the system will update. So what it does is it establishes its credentials on demand, and once they get authentication that it has updated correctly, Palladium will drop the connection to the SQL Server. So you can unplug, run around, you can run on wireless with absolutely no problem. So another thing we'll speak about here is on the legacy technology used in languages. Palladium uses Microsoft .NET, the .NET 4 framework. Now, your legacy softwares, again, now there's so many to name, but I'm going to go back to the Pastel one because as a market leader in South Africa, the product was developed using technology called Visual Basic version 6. Now, what people don't know about Visual Basic version 6 is that Visual Basic version 6 was actually discontinued, and there's the Wikipedia on Visual Basic version 6 you'll see here, was actually discontinued and support ended. In fact, officially ended in March 31st, 2005. Now, question to each person listening to this video is, what were you doing, 11 years ago? 11 years when support ended, not the last update. So you can go back to the last update was probably around 2000, 2001 with bug fixes. It only runs in 32-bit environments, and today we're in 64-bit environments with obviously with Windows 10 and some real power there. Think of a 32-bit versus a 64-bit as 2 lanes and 4 lanes on a freeway. You can get that much more information up and down effectively. But because this is not supported, you're going to be you will definitely experience problems with newer operating systems and hardwares, etc. Another thing here is Microsoft's statement on using this product on Windows Vista 2007, 7, 8 is it just works. So the important, although a lot of times we don't realize what language the technology was used to develop in, it is critical to know that. Because if your accounting software is critical to your business and it just works, where is the corporate governance in that? Now, I'm quite sure these companies that are selling this old technology are obliged by law to tell people, but I don't really think they do. But anyway, that's enough about them. So one of the other cool things that we can use using Palladium, I'm going to go back now and I'm going to open my local connection. So all it's doing is saying, right, let's go back into my local connection here, activate. Now I'm going to say, right, let's do an invoice. So I'll go and do an invoice today for an item. So I'll choose this customer TS004. You can see we don't have any history. And I'll choose a machine item, a die cutting machine. I'll say, okay, that's 1 million rand. Fine, we can view a nice little image of that. And of course, your technologies, we can print the invoice, we can print the pictures on the documents, or in fact, we can even attach these invoices with statements, but you would expect that from more current technology. Now, I've just recorded that. Now what I'll do is I'll go into Excel, and we've created a series of Excel pivot tables. I think everyone's familiar with Excel, but now I can just right-click and refresh that. And I can now say, look at sales, my different sales by items. So I could go into my, as you can see here, this is a standard pivot table. So I can go here, I can say refresh here, there it is. And you can go and you can drag and drop certain things. So let me drag my customer code. I would like my customer code first. There's my customer code. I'll take the customer code, then description, not description, then customer code. And there's die cutting machine, TST002. Go across on this, TST003. Let me just make sure that I've selected all my months. Okay, I want to select all months. Okay, the already data sales analysis. Yes, we'll replace it. Right, now we get a little bit better information. There's my £1,000,000. There it is there, TST004. Now you can start slicing and dicing this information. We've got sales by departments, top 10 customer sales, monthly analysis charts, and all these are just standard custom modifications you can do in Excel. All the information is in a SQL view, all in Palladium. So the minute your data is in Palladium, you do not need a Palladium license to run any of these reports. All your reports can run from Excel. Take it a step further. Microsoft's just released its multi-million-dollar Power BI. Now, being a SQL Server application, we've written some nice little tabs for SQL Server, for Power BI. And how it works is really, we'll just set up the different cubes. This saves as a pack. And when you're happy with this setups and all the reports you'd like, then all we do is we publish the information, and the system will update every hour automatically. And then we'll just log into the Microsoft Power BI, and I'm just running insights. But if I go into now my Power BI demo packs or customer profitability, I'll just go to my workspace here. Now you can see this on any mobile device, and Microsoft charges $9.99 for this. So now you take this information that you can get and all the relationships between the graphs. What's pretty cool about this is you see there, when I change one thing, I can set this graph to be a relationship. So if I go into the Power BI here, and then I choose one of my tabs here, revenue, for example, I'll say this here, you see manage relationships. So the relationships will set as I'm managing relationships on this specific graph. And then I'll go into the Power BI here. And then as I click on one thing, everything else will change. This is on any mobile device, including a mobile phone. Like I said, it's $9.99 per user. So you're not limited to information. In fact, if anything, silly little things as well is on customer profitability. One of the coolest features here is it has insights. Now, insights uses the Microsoft Analytics in SQL Server, and it actually analyzes your data. So I've just ran quick insights that tells me, here's information about the company you may need to know. Look at this. There's a correlation, count of products by count of city. There's a correlation between products and city. Sum of material costs, count of products. You can ask it questions. You can go as far as saying, right, let me go back to my customer profitability. Let's say, ask questions. So as you can see, the amount of information you can get. And also, of course, with Palladium now, we being in a SQL Server database, we store history for life. So we store history throughout the application for life. So you can run income statements at any point in time, previous years, historical years, if we had data. We can run sales reports right throughout. So being in a Microsoft SQL Server environment, it changes the world. So I want to thank you for listening to this video, and hopefully you'll watch some of the others.